Okay, in this video here, what we're going to do is talk about the requirements for precision. Now let's go ahead and start out by reading what we've got in place. Precision is a 2D top-down casual action game in which a player's goal is to navigate a nanite probe around the screen to save endangered cells from a degrading disease while avoiding enemy antibodies. During gameplay, any cells that are fully infected will be converted into more antibodies, thereby increasing the number of enemies on the screen. If any antibody touches the nanite probe, the player will lose a life. Once all lives are gone, the game will be over. Additional gameplay elements include the ability for the player to control not only the direction of the nanite probe, but to also be able to employ 2 different speeds. Also, there will be a power-up system in which the nanite probe can pick up a time distortion effect which will slow down all non-player activity, giving the player a time-limited speed and maneuverability advantage. Woo! So this right here are the requirements for precision. So basically the backstory is this. We've got this alien that has come to Earth, and it is infected with some sort of disease. And for whatever reason, we've decided to help it. And the way we help it is we have injected this nanite into the alien's bloodstream. Now, as the disease is going around and attacking cells, these cells are dying. And of course, if all of the cells die off, well, that's not good, of course. So basically, since the nanite is a foreign object in the body, the alien's body is going to produce antibodies to try to take out the nanite probe. So we've got to go around and heal these cells while trying to avoid all of the antibodies that are swimming around the bloodstream trying to get us. So that's something we've got to be very careful about. And that's where the name precision comes from. The idea is for us to very carefully maneuver around the screen without touching any of these moving around antibodies. So this is what we're looking to do. It's really going to be quite a simple game. Basically, we're going to have our screen, and we're going to have, it'll start out with a title screen, and we'll talk about all this in the next video when we get into the design of it. We'll have a title screen, and we'll begin the game. We'll start out with, okay, here we go, level change to level number 1. It's going to have X number of cells, and it's going to have X number of enemies. So we start out with a couple cells and an enemy. So here's a cell, here's a cell, and let me just draw an enemy as a star. He's like a little mine-looking thing. So there he is, one enemy. Now the enemy is just going to move in a random direction, kind of back and forth, and he's just going to change up. Now here we are, our little probe, and we can just simply move the probe around the screen with our Xbox 360 controller. That will be our controlling device, and again, we'll talk more about that in the next video. But we're moving him around screen, and as we move him around the screen, these cells are going to start out green. They're nice and healthy. But suddenly, one begins getting attacked, and we're going to see that we're going to have this little progress bar that's going to die off. And as the progress bar is dying off, his color, the cell, is going to change. It's going to basically start to die. And as the cell dies off, the bar, progress bar right here, is going to continue going back and back and back until it runs out. And once the progress bar runs out, and the cell completely dies, a new antibody is going to be spawned, and he's going to start running around. So the idea, so let's say that this guy right here starts to die. The idea is for us to simply get over here and move our nanite over the cell. And that's it. We've just saved the cell. Hooray! And then the idea is to simply clear the board. Once the board's cleared, we progress to the next level. So there's a level change, and the level change tells us, all right, in this upcoming level, you're going to have X number of cells and X number of antibodies to start out with. And, of course, the cells begin dying again. And we simply just progress level after level as things get more and more complicated. Now, this section down here talks for just a minute about power-ups. We're going to have a power-up that's going to randomly appear throughout level play. It's going to be a little clock, not a bomb. It kind of looks like a bomb. And when you run over this time power-up, what's going to happen is we're going to get a bar at the top of the screen, and everything's going to go into kind of bullet time, slow motion. except for you. So cells dying are going to slow down. Enemies spawning out of them are going to slow. Everything's going to slow down, making it a lot easier for you to carefully navigate in and out of antibodies trying to get to damaged cells. Simple enough. Once our bar completely runs out, that's 2 arrows. Once it completely runs out, boom, everything snaps back into real time, and you've got to be careful once again because, well, you can easily get hit because nothing's going slow. And then, after X amount of time, the power-up will appear once again. So the power-up can become really, really helpful. One final thing that we're going to have to keep in mind is that we need to be able to employ 2 different speeds because this is precision after all. There may be times where you're going to need to move really fast to get all the way across the screen to a dying cell that's almost about to kick the bucket and produce an antibody. Or there may be times where you've got a lot of slow-moving antibodies around and you need to very carefully weave in and out of the antibodies. And in order to do that, the last thing you need to do is barely hit the controller and have yourself shoot 100 pixels across the screen and run over 6 antibodies and be dead instantly. So we need to be able to go fast and we need to be able to go slow. They both become important in gameplay. So that's it. Logan, is there anything you want to add to this?
I think that sums up, especially with the diagram, exactly what's going to need to happen and the things that are going to need to be in the scene in order to pull all this off.
Yeah, it's in the next video. We'll start breaking down rules.
As far as the requirements lesson and what we want to see as an end result, I think this pretty much covers it.
Cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead and progress on to the design phase where we'll start laying down what the rules are for precision.